Hello, my name is Maurice Washington. I want to welcome everybody to another episode of Executive Talk. Those that are watching live and those that are listening later on our podcast, thank you so much for joining us on today's segment. Today's segment is titled Business, Marriage, and Money. I want you to think about that for a brief moment and think about that. As a business owner, being married, what kind of challenges, what kind of things have developed within your marriage since you've been a business owner? Has it been rough? Has it been an easy course that the two of you have developed? In today's segment, we're going to talk about that. And with me today is Kerri Farren with Summit Global Private Wealth to talk to us about her history and her relationship as she's seen people and met with clients such as yourself and some of the situations she's ran into. And we're going to provide some solutions here at the end. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Kerri to the stage here. Kerri, how you doing today?
I'm doing just marvelous, and I love being brought into the stage.
Well, we love having you come into the stage. You know, you just light it up. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So talk to us about this year. Obviously, we've had a lot of changes. The election's gone through. Now we're coming into kind of a fresh start. If you were to paint a picture as a whole year and what we might be running into coming into next year, what's your assessment?
Well, that's a good question because I think about it all the time because a lot of people ask about it. But this year has been a crazy up and down, just because of elections, other things like the wars going overseas, things like that are really questioning people. They're afraid to get into the market. They're afraid to lose money. They're afraid to do anything like this because of these fluctuations and these things going on. But then, of course, some people are really happy about the election, both sides, whichever it is. And so there has been a lot more positive things going on some sides. Some of the people are, okay, the market's going to be looking better and going. So it's just the view that I'm seeing of the people, how they view the world themselves is the reactions that they take. So it's different for everybody. And it's fun to work with different people because I see it in all different ways. So, the market has been fluctuating. There's going to be changes for next year that could be expected or unexpected. And I'll just be working with people through that to try to understand and help guide them through some of the questions and concerns they have. But it has been a very fluctuating year. Very, very interesting.
And that's good. I love the way that you put that. It's all about your perspective and how you're going to go into next year, right? Would that sum that up?
Yes.
Good. Okay, that's fair. And now, fast forwarding to this current topic: business, marriage, and money. Perspective is everything. So, just give us an overarching glance at how you feel about this topic and what you've seen over the years.
This topic is a really good topic. I remember when we first started talking about doing this, I was really trying to come up with, okay, what concepts or questions or things do I have in my head? And it took me a while. But then when I really started thinking about people that I've worked with, people that I've talked to, things that I've seen, I think something like this is very important because I have gone through people with divorces. I've gone through people with new marriages. I've gone through people with kids. All of these different levels of their life changed everything overnight in some ways.
Yes.
And it just made me think more of how important it is to understand each other's view on any kind of topic, especially when it comes to money, that they need to have some kind of connection on that and not fight it. So
yes.
I've seen a lot of that. I learned a lot, and it just made me think about this topic a lot more about what I've experienced.
Okay. Well, let's jump right into it because you're just like any other time. You always set the stage for us just perfectly. So let's go ahead and talk about define the power of money. And you talked about, and you've been talking just in this brief moment a lot about perspective, right? And what we're finding is perspective is a huge part of how you're going to react to any situation and how you're going to respond, right? So when it comes to money specifically, let's talk about these points here. So the power of money, belief, your childhood, influence it has, perception, how you think, and how it makes you feel. And the key component I want everybody to really key on is the word power. And Kerri, within that, you talked about some divorces, you talked about a lot of changes in situations. Talk to us about some of the power that you've seen, and I'm going to go ahead and chime in towards the end here. But what do you think about some of those bullet points that we had just mentioned there?
Yeah, so as I look back at this, and like I said earlier about thinking of, sorry, apologies about that. Thinking about what I heard from, sorry. Okay, I'm okay now. I'm clear.
You're all right. See, this conversation gets you choked up and gets
Yeah, I know.
you
I'm already
going.
choked up with it. Yeah. Yeah. So when I talked to a lot of clients, I really started paying attention to what they said about their history, about what kind of things are making them react to money and life and everything now. And I just noticed different things on how the parents brought up the children with the belief of what the money was all about. Things like money doesn't grow on trees and this kind of stuff. So the belief started coming into the children's head that it was hard. The belief about money was hard. And that all came through the childhood. The influence that it has in the future is they're still remembering what their parents had said. So they're out there working really hard, trying to do all these things, and they're making it harder. Um, Perception of money is different. Some people think it's great and really useful. It's there for a purpose and we use it correctly. But other people see it as it's an enemy. Money causes all these problems and stuff. And it's just because of the way you grew up, how it makes you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard a lot of stories about people that they grew up with parents were really tight with the money. And so it made the child think that money's tight and it's going to be that way forever. And it doesn't help them open their mind and think about it a little bit more about other opportunities or options that are really out there. But the way you grew up, you never saw that. Me being one of them, I will tell you, growing up as when I was younger, I saw money like that. And I really didn't realize till later that that is just a mind thing. It's your own thoughts going in your head about what money's all about, the power of money is all about.
Yes. Yeah, you're hitting the nail right on the head because the power of it. And to me, Kerri, I'm with you on everything that you said. Well, I want to hone in on to the people that are listening, and the childhood experience is everything. That's where that power to me starts with how you view money. One of the things, and parents get a hard time when it comes to raising children because it's probably one of the hardest things to do. You're trying to be yourself, and you're trying to raise a child, and you're trying to be a husband, and you're trying to be a wife, right? So you got a lot going on, and a lot of times you don't have the capacity to really think about how you're showing up. And so with that, and you said it spot on, with that childhood experience, depending on how that parent was, will severely determine how that child is looking at their money. And very rarely do you as a parent talk to your 18-year-old or 19-year-old or 20-year-old and say, how did you view how I raised you? you don't typically have that conversation, do you? It's typically get out the house. I don't want to be here. Right.
Yeah. That's funny you say that. I was like, yeah, I never heard that.
Yeah, you never heard that. That's right. And so when you think about that launch off conversation has never transpired. So now that child is left with whatever beliefs. So now let's think about it like this, because generational has a lot to do with those beliefs, right? So there could be in that situation as a parent, the understanding and the perception has been, so let's say there was an entrepreneur before. Let's say the husband was an entrepreneur and the wife, stayed at home, and it made it hard on the family. What do you think has happened to that child, Kerri?
The child is seeing that money is tight. It causes frustration. It causes all of these negative things that go around the house. And some children might not even see it, but they can feel it. And they don't know what's going behind their parents' door, as they're the stress about money, but they can
Right.
feel it. It's it doesn't matter really what they see, but they feel it, and it causes stress. And all of a sudden this stuff goes into your mind about what's going on behind that closed doors is what my life's going to look like, because this is what I'm used to. That's not what it's saying, but those are the kind of things that are going through, and that's what's kind of put it in your head, what money's all about and what it looks like. And when you grow up that way, you don't understand, and you don't really see other options.
That's right. That's right. And you said it just perfectly. The conversation never took place. You just saw it, you felt it, and you're experiencing it on your own, and just kind of had to take it as a child as to what's happening and make up your own mind, because without information, you fill in the gaps. Mm-hmm. That's just a natural instinct. And so it brings me to this next topic here, and it comes to your belief about money comes with you into marriage. So I'm going to bring up this bullet point: your experience with money as you're growing up, how your parents interacted with money. Did you grow up in a household where one of your parents was a business owner? And what is their perception regarding business ownership? So talk to us about the perception of business ownership, Kerri. How have you seen this change the dynamic of folks coming into this adulthood?
Yeah, starting on that last one, the perception regarding business ownership, business owner, that is big, because I have worked with couples, that one especially that I'm just thinking of, they both had really good jobs. They were bringing in the money pretty well. And then one of the guys decided to go off as an entrepreneur and start his own business. And it was tight, of course, at the very beginning. But what I recall when I'm looking back there is the way that the couple were so well together. I'm not saying they're not anymore. It's just you saw a change in that they were compatible with each other, had the same goals, doing the same thing. But that's because they both had the same view on what employment was. The same old process over and over and over again. You get hooked to that. The money's coming in, and that's just the way it went. But then when I saw the other one move and want to expand and go to something else, it did kind of put a little bit of a conflict at first, because the other side wasn't used to that. They don't understand how that worked. And it did turn into, I saw a level kind of change of, they were both kind of equal here with employment. It is what it is. We're just average, blah, blah, blah. But then the entrepreneur, started looking bigger, because they looked at more opportunities, better options, but the money wasn't totally agreeable. They saw it totally different. And that can cause big questions, big concerns. And you have to have a total belief in each other on those kind of things, and have to talk about it before it starts.
That's true. It's one thing that's strong about folks is, if you really want to know somebody, find out what their belief is, because that is a belief that's concrete, is stuck, is who they are. That's the decision making that they're operating around. So if it comes to that, and you've seen this as a child, and you've had some experiences around money, it leans a lot of people specifically towards W-2 lifestyle, right? Because they want to see that guarantee. They don't want to experience that same feeling that they had and that their parents, and based on what they saw, to go through that type of hardship, right? They want that comfort. Or they saw, their father and mother go ahead and make it. They both worked for a company and went through, and then that was that. So that became a lifestyle, and that's how they got through life, and that was their first experience as far as how the marriage goes, right? So this belief is strong, and it comes with you into the marriage, which is good or bad or indifferent, I guess, depending on the situation. But this is how we're going to build this, because I want for us to talk about this, because I know this is extremely specific, and this is the frequency of income in your marriage changes your reality. So obviously everybody knows you have twice a month, you have weekly, you have monthly and bi-weekly. Talk to us about the comfort that you've seen and how people organize their lives around this type of system.
It's something that's very repetitive. It's the same thing over and over. They know how much they're going to be making. They know what their bills are, and they know what they have to pay, and the whole process. And so it's just a habit, or some kind of competitive, or what's the word I just said? Repetitive,
Yeah.
over and over. Competitive, repetitive, same thing. I don't know. But repetitive over and over. And so they're used to it. And even though if they know they'll have extra and it makes them positive and happy, then that's good. But then there are other times, even though they have it scheduled and planned, it's still really tight. But at least they have a plan. So either way, there's a stress there. But either way, at least they know where they're headed, where they're going, and they're comfortable with that.
Yes. Yes. And that's interesting. That's an interesting word, comfortable, because as I'm growing up and getting older, I'm really understanding words now. Comfortable, and you have to understand, folks. A lot of us come into those marriages with this frequency. This is a security frequency. This is telling each other, uh, weekly I get paid XYZ. Monthly I get paid XYZ. So you're saying to each other, okay, I'm comfortable with this situation. Okay, I feel like I love you. I feel like I can make it the distance, and you're getting paid. So I know you care about your well-being. I know you'll keep me secure. I know that's important to you. So there's a lot of decisions. So it changes your reality in the sense of your plans and decisions are starting to be made based on this frequency. And I think I feel like this is where the rubber hits the road and your marriage actually starts to develop around this security, folks. And what I mean by that is you get a mortgage. So your credit is on point because you've been paying your bills on the time, because this matches your frequency. You've been able to pay them, so you're able to get a mortgage. Now you see that you have a extra disposable income, for lack of better terms. So that tells you, okay, let's go ahead and have children, because I know you're mature. I know you're going to take care of me. I'm going to take care of you. We're going to take care of the bills. So you start having kids. You start developing a lifestyle based on this frequency. To me, Kerri, I'm going to pass the ball right back to you. Does this develop a new belief system within that household?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. The belief system is this is the way we were taught kind of to grow up, to work,
yes.
repetitive. The same thing, kind of little off a little bit, but kind of looking at it as go to school, get a job, and then hope you can retire. And so that's what
right.
you kind of grow up and learn with. And so you're comfortable with that, and you think you're doing the right thing.
Yes.
Because you're also not looking outside, of what you learned growing up.
Yes.
And so it just becomes a repetitive thing every month. It fits them well. It's agreed upon. They understand it. And that's just the way it is. And so it's at least they're comfortable and on the same level with where they're headed.
That's right. Folks, when it comes to marriage, you start to develop an identity real quick. And one of the things, and the reason why this particular slide is really important, is now we're coming from your childhood experience to now you're 18, to now you're married, or you're in your adult years per se. Now you're married. Now you're starting to develop this household and this new lifestyle that everybody is secure with. Understand, you're sending 20,000 messages in that marriage based on this particular moment. You're sending, this is what our life is going to be. And it doesn't mean you're satisfied. It just represents where you are today. Okay. And I want us to really understand this, because this is the moment that I feel changes the whole course of a marriage. All right. Especially when it comes to business ownership. I'm going to bring this up because I think this is just as important. And I'm glad you brought these points up, Kerri, because these are on point. So one of you has decided that that business ownership is the next step for their life. So just as an overarching topic of discussion here, Kerri, tell us in your viewpoint the dynamic shift of this moment.
Yeah, and it kind of tells it about in these, items we're looking at here. But it's everything that was planned before all of a sudden stops. And I'm going to look back at my experience to just kind of follow through what happened.
Sure,
because of the fact that both of us had a job. It is what it was. We brought home the money. Everything was comfortable. And the more I think about it, the more I know a lot of people can go through this. Because then when I decided to jump and go into my entrepreneur, it was totally changed. It's like we were starting all over because we didn't I shouldn't say we didn't understand each other, because we did. He understood it, but he didn't understand now the entrepreneur part. So we both understood the employment, but then he didn't understand the entrepreneur part. And I was still learning on that myself too. So it's not like I was able to explain exactly to him what's going on and this is where we're going. So I didn't even have a plan on that. So, this is what a lot of people go to. They get excited about doing it, which is an awesome opportunity, and go for it. But I didn't really think about that part when I decided to do it. It was just here I go, da da da, blah. Not even really talking to him about it.
Right. I see. Yeah.
So what I learned from it is that it really is a whole new chapter in your book, or a brand new book, whatever, because you have to start over, understand each other's goals and objectives again, and learn how to agree with them in a way, and start over again on now, how are we going to look at money? How are we going to schedule everything now? How are we going to plan? How are we going to do this? Because it's a total change. So it totally starts over, and it's a different view of not only in your marriage, but also of how you grew up. That part comes now back.
Yes.
And
yes.
comes back into the chapter.
Yes.
And you start over, and
That's right.
So yeah, it not only changes of course, your way of income, the active cash situations, but it changes emotional, it changes how you look at things, how you rethink things, if you're making the right choices, all that kind of stuff. So it just starts all over with new questions.
That's it. Let's go ahead and bring up some of these bullet points, and I'm going to insert a couple of thoughts here. So here's a few things for us to remember, and we're going to talk a little bit more on this topic here, is remember the original plan hasn't changed in the other person's mind. At this very moment, ladies and gentlemen, the marriage has started over, as Kerri had alluded to. Business ownership brings up more fears than excitement. Business ownership also evokes emotion of uncertainty, which attacks the whole family's security. So when you think about starting off at square one, folks, you got to think about where square one is. And square one is always based off your security. And as Kerri had mentioned just a second ago, it hits you all the way back to my parents, your parents, what you experienced all over again. Those childhood beliefs, and that's why we want to key in on the other topic for a minute, because those childhood beliefs actually never leave you until you deal with them. Those are always right until you made an adjustment in your perspective. But that is where the plans of the household, that's one of the original reasons why the two of you got married, folks. And then now, here's the weird thing about deciding to become a business ownership. Because one thing I can almost guarantee is at some point the two of you sat down and says, "Is this all there is in life?" I guarantee you one of those persons were sitting in the background saying, "Man, I have so much more in me. This job is just not cutting it. Jeez, so dissatisfied." There's I can guarantee there's that hardship in the family where we're just not making enough money. We got to figure something out. So it's not like those conversations aren't coming up, because the thing about life, people, and the thing about change is, and that's what's worse. That's the worst, because we're so committed to trying to get comfortable about who we are that we have not even planned that we may change tomorrow. We have not even considered that though there's some emotions in us. And so by the time you're into this, you're just going to the mundane, but all of a sudden it's not like you're not out there and people are talking to you about, "Hey, I have an opportunity for you to do this business. I know you're good at this." And somebody brings it up because that evokes that excitement. There's something in them that they had not addressed. Mm-hmm. And so let's really paint that picture on that decision, that business owner, that where that decision is actually coming from to be a business ownership. It's not like the two of you didn't have a couple of discussions along the way. I guarantee there's probably been a conversation. where throughout the years, your husband or wife would say, you know what, I would love to be a business owner. And say, oh, I believe in you. Yeah, that sounds good. And then it goes away. And then maybe a year or two later, you bring it up again. You know, I should really try it. Like, yeah. But I feel like there's a part of you that you're like, I don't believe you're actually going to do it. Do you feel like that conversation happens, Kerri?
Oh yeah, it happens. It happens all the time. It's something like you have to prove it before I believe it, kind of thing to work with. That, but
Oh no,
it's
okay.
yeah,
You
they
go ahead.
want to totally support you. And I'm just going to bring myself up again, okay? Because it's an example. It's something I've learned from, and I'm seeing it in other people. But when I wanted to get the other job, my spouse was yes, he totally believed in me. Um, really saw the opportunities we had. He knew that he was surprised that I stayed as an employee as long as I did. Because he's
Mm,
like, you are not the kind of person that could be an employee. You can't be told what to do. So he was very surprised at that. So that's why he was behind me in this and why seeing the change was good. But it did take a while to actually get it going, get it back into the stream of the repetitive income, your weekly or biweekly or whatever, and it brought stress.
yeah.
It really did. And so,
Yeah.
but as the person that he is, and any other couple out there, I know that my experience is a whole bunch of other people's experiences that it came
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
this. That the
Yeah.
relationship was still good and the person supported you, but there was a belief like, oh crap, what happens? This doesn't work. Our money is halfway,
That's right.
split. We don't have any more income.
Yeah.
So that's where the relationship, I think, comes in, is the trust that you have in each other and the faith and the
Yeah.
belief that you have on the other side. Because that's what you really need. Because if people are on the sideline and it's in their head that they don't believe it, you can feel it. Again, it's like the thing I
Yeah.
said. If those people have those negative feelings around you, you can feel it.
That's
And it
right.
also brings you down and makes you double think, is this the right choice I'm going to make?
Yeah.
So it's just a circle for a while, and you think about it, and then you look back at it, and then you think about it. And sometimes it does take time, but the more you think about it too, the more you're not going to do it, So it can,
That's
just
right.
because all those thoughts get in your head. But it is, I think, all of this stuff together, making these choices, doing these things together, it's all on your objective of how you see the future, what you want to see in the future, and if the person really believes in you,
Yeah.
that if you're intelligent enough, if your spouse tells you you're intelligent enough for this, you know what you're doing, you shouldn't be at that job and get paid what they're paying you. You deserve better. You deserve this. And if you have that support with you and the positiveness, it helps tremendously.
It does. It does. And I like what you say, because it leads right into our next conversation. But I want to hit something on that particular point. Um, when you think about that belief and saying somebody believes in you, you got to make sure that it's authentic, because it's the right thing. There's a right thing to do. I believe in you statement. And there's I've seen you around. I don't know if you can actually do that. I believe in you statement, right? Because you're just trying to fill in the space and you're struggling yourself. And so remember that particular moment, because this is why this belief becomes so strong. And I'm going to bring up some realities of business ownership and how it changes a person. And this is what people should know. One of the first things that how it changes you is you need to build something for people to buy, which takes time, right? So Kerri, you're in this business ownership. I believe in you. The conversation has taken place, and now you're in it. Now you're developing your product, you're developing your services, you're developing your business cards, and so on and so forth. It's a ball of excitement. But immediately when you're doing these things, your money is drawing out. It's not like it's coming, that frequency is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In order to really develop your business, you have to fully commit to it. It's very hard to do it part-time and make it happen. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure there's some situations, but first and foremost is there's a time component with this. So when it comes to I believe in you, when you say that, have you even because and you're are you saying that because you mean it, or are you saying it because you really don't know what you're believing in at this point? Because how does time affect the mind, Kerri?
Time affects it a lot, and it's got to do with, um, again, what you've experienced before, and
Yeah,
then what you're looking into for the future, and not really understanding what you're getting into.
yeah,
And sometimes people can really put in 100%, not just touch their toe in the water, and they're ready to go. And because of their belief, it could be off to a good start because they
yeah,
really have belief in it. But a lot of the time, they might not feel that way. And if the person's just putting the toe in and trying to figure out if this is what they want to do, if it's not, then again, it starts putting more negative into it, more thoughts into it. And I don't know if that person's really supporting you that much anymore. They're still behind you, cheer, cheer, but they're more on the cheer, cheer, oh crap, are we going to make this?
that's right,
kind of
that's right,
thing.
that's right.
Yeah, they still want to be behind you, but the beliefs are starting to go down.
That's it. And that's why I challenged everybody on your statement of, did you really mean it when you say I believed in you? Because the first thing you're going to run into is time, because you don't know what you don't know. You're excited about how good you may be at XYZ business or product you're about to sell. You may be amazing at it, but it doesn't mean you don't know you know about what's going to happen. You have
Mhm.
no idea. You don't know your sales cycle. You don't know your client base, and what it looks like. The mindset that you go into business owners with is, I'm here to serve everybody,
Mhm.
right? You didn't realize you have a target market. You didn't realize you actually have people that you truly like to be around, and there's some people that you don't like to be around. You didn't know that.
Mhm.
You're just coming in with everybody. So part of this is, you really don't understand people until you become a business owner. Talk to us about your experience kind of in your transition, Kerri, and coming into your field of expertise.
Yeah, it's as you were saying that, it does make me think of what I went through. As I look back at my history and my employment, this kind of thing, there were people I didn't like, and this goes with everybody in their regular businesses. They're just people you don't like. And when I went into this new thing, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to be hitting a lot of new people, a lot of different kinds of people, all this. But I was thinking also everybody's the same. And it was just something that was going through my head because of my experience. It's not like everybody's the same, but in general, they're all going to act the same way. They're all going to do this, because this is what I was used to. So when I was thinking I'm going to hit the market, it's like I can hit anybody. I can hit everybody. But then that's when I really started seeing, okay, there are really great people out there, and there are some people that I really don't want to work with. And what I liked about looking at it is the more I learned about it, is I can fire people that I don't want to work with. Instead of,
So,
as a regular employment, you have to live with it. And
sure.
that's not saying anything bad, but that's a change that I saw in my life too, which made me a lot more positive and a
Yeah.
lot more focused on what I was doing, because I had the opportunity to actually figure out what I wanted to do, learn what I want to do. And 20 years later, I'm still learning because everything's new, but I had the opportunity to keep doing that and just to see people different. And so that, I think, is what changes a regular marriage, that you're both on the same level. That changes that too, because you're both in this situation where you're just, whatever, I don't like my job, but I'm doing it because I have to.
Yeah.
And so you see that. But then when the other one changes and it starts seeing, wow, there are awesome people out here.
Yeah, that's right.
the other
That's true.
one, the other one can still think you're crazy,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Because the other person becomes really happy all of a sudden because they're around happy people. And
Yeah.
the other one's like, what the heck? you know, they just see that big change. And so all that, put together comes up with how that relationship's going to change, and how you can look into making your own decisions in your own life on who you can work with, who you want to work with. You can
That's right.
choose people. But of course, when you very first start doing the business, you want to have everybody because you're like,
That's right.
I need business. So come on, come on, come on. But then that's kind of when you start noticing the different kinds of people. And that
Yes,
helps you grow, figure out which ones you want. But it gets you out of the box that you've been in for 30 years, 20 years,
that's right.
whatever.
That's true. I'm going to bring up these couple other points here because I know they're just as important. So your pay structure dramatically changes. So earlier we were talking about twice a week, or I'm sorry, twice a month, weekly, biweekly, and monthly as far as your pay structure. Now, here's something that goes hand in hand. Your debt increases before your income increases and stabilizes. How much strain does that put on the belief system of the other party that is trying to support the cause?
Yeah, that causes a big problem. One thing that I've learned from other people that I've watched and things like that is people aren't ready for it, but they should be. But it's very hard to do that. You kind of need to sit down with your spouse and say, okay, if this is what we're going to do, and this looks like where the money's going to stop coming in or whatever, when it's going to come, we got to make sure we're planned and ready to go so that you can have those few months or 6 months or a year, whatever you want to plan, with your spouse
That's right.
on how to get there. But there are other times when the person's like, okay, well, I know I'm going to make a lot of money right away, so we'll be fine. And then the next few months go and it doesn't go, and they don't have money, don't have money, don't have money. So it's very hard when that money stops coming. And, the hope is always, okay, it'll be in the future, it's coming. But during that whole time, too, the company or your new business, you have to be spending money.
Yeah.
Because you can't just sit and wait for the first client or customer or whatever to come. You have to be out there showing yourself, expressing yourself, meeting new people, attending things, marketing, learn how to start marketing yourself. All that's going to cost money. And if that's not planned, but assumed that it's going to come right away, then, that's a big problem between the two. So the biggest recommendation is if somebody feels like doing that, you have to get down with your spouse and really look over your money, what's saved, what's going to be coming in and going out, and really understanding what's going to happen in the next 6 months to a year, sometimes even 5 years. I've heard
Yeah.
it takes it's the 5 years that's going to show if your business is going to work or not. So you really have to look ahead and understand the waves of that and your ups and downs of your income and everything, and just be ready for it. Again, that's why it just proves, again, you have to be in a relationship with your spouse and understand the process on how it's going to look in the future. So they're going to be ready for it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Kerri, I think the real message here is the comfort, the security makes you go to sleep, because now actually what you're learning about yourself is you're not ready for a change to occur, and this change is a change for the future. This is a change but you're actually experiencing hope. You're actually experiencing faith. You're actually really putting some stuff out there that you didn't have to put out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing about being W-2 versus entrepreneur, is that your faith just has to be in the boss and that everything is going to work out tomorrow and you're going to have a job. So your faith and your hope is actually in a compartment, for lack of better terms. Now you're actually looking at the marriage as a whole. Once that quote unquote security is taken away, you got to have faith in development. This is the first time you're actually seeing development in real time. So it is business ownership, but what you're actually looking at in this present moment is development. You're actually looking at a change. And this is for the entrepreneur. This is for you to really understand something about yourself. You in the household, folks, you create a brand. You do some silly stuff around the household and you think, okay, I'm goofy, you're cute, I'm cute, we're fine, right? You kind of just keep on doing this song and dance. But you don't really understand that you have created a reputation by doing that. It's no different than going outside and doing weird stuff. People people want to get comfortable, they're going to put you in a box. So it's the same thing in the household. Now that you have come out and become a business owner, now your reputation of what you currently were before is falling right with you in this business ownership, in this venture that you're doing, because they're looking at it as a venture.
Yeah.
They don't really quite know if you're going to make it or not. As a matter of fact, you don't even quite know if you're going to make it or not,
Mm-hmm.
right? So both of y'all in doubt, but one of y'all has to be strong and say, yes, we're going to make this work. I'm going to keep driving. But it doesn't mean that that business owner doesn't, or that person that's headed towards business ownership or in it, is not having the same fears. Because I want to make sure everybody understands it is counterproductive to anybody, or to a lot of people. Let's just say a lot of people, to go into business and rack up the amount of debt that you have before you start getting a constant pay. That business owner is actually looking for a cycle of pay to get comfortable with. Would you agree with that, Kerri?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Just comfort.
It's just comfort. That's right. That's right. Everybody has that same security want, folks. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what people seem to forget. And the thing about it is you have to be careful on judging your entrepreneur at this particular time, because it's not like they don't know that bills are due. It's not like they don't know that, and it just so happens little Johnny has a huge, has a huge medical bill that just happened, right? It's not like those things aren't plaguing that person and pushing him back into that comfort zone. So, these debts and stuff kind of tend to develop.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna talk about this, and I'm gonna have you take us on the journey here with couple of these topics. How has
Mm-hmm.
business ownership changed your marriage? So there's a freedom shift in the marriage, and one has frequency and is now conclusive. A vacation to you is a missed work week for the other person, and it might cost the business owner a deal. The time of the year has an impact on when the business owner will get paid. When business owner says they have deals on the horizon, that doesn't mean things won't change by the time it's time to do business. And this also creates frustration, which attacks each person's understanding and security. Which one stands out to you here, Kerri?
The first two, pretty much the freedom shift in your marriage and then the vacations. I really like looking at those two. I mean, they all kind of go, but the first two are good because what it does is it kind of questions the couple if they're going to be able to continue doing the same thing they're doing. But it comes up with understanding each other again, like we've been talking about, understanding each other, knowing it, and a belief. You have to have like the faith you're talking about, the belief, all of these things that are going to go with this, that you have to work together with your spouse. Now, these things, all of these things that you could be missing out on, if you put your head in now, focus on a certain amount of years to get your business, then all these things are going to be coming a lot more later in life. So a lot of people that I'm seeing now, especially with these new generations, is it's everything they want right now.
Yes.
It's now, now, now. And that's, I think, another reason why it might be hard for people to get into their own business, because the money's just not coming in right away.
Sure.
And then that can cause a huge problem with the couple. I mean, it just keeps going around and around and around like that. But if your spouse really believes in what you're doing and is going to be there to support you, then you need to just say, okay, we're not going to travel for the next 5 years, or we're not going to be able to buy this or do this, but let's look at this plan and look 5 years from now what we're going to be able to do. And, like, well, that last one doesn't mean things won't change, but is probably looking to change. It's just going to take time,
Yeah.
and it's frustration and all that stuff. But that's where the couple or the family just has to get together, talk about it, and really understand that money doesn't come fast like some people think today. And it takes work to get it. And that's what couples and families have to do, is look into the future, say, this is what I want. I've been working with people that have really worked hard, and now I see them, they have 2 homes. They're down in Florida now. Some other people are buying these new homes, but they have been working their butts off and not doing the things they wanted to do for so long.
Yeah.
So I see it, but people really have to look in the future and don't think about crap. We can't have all this stuff now. We're going to be pretty tight for a while. We're going to be, a slow move for a while, whatever it is. But you just got to think about the future and the huge difference it's going to make than staying in your employment right now with the same amount of money. You may get laid off. You never know. It's just things you've got to kind of take control of your life and do what's good for you and your family.
I like that. I'm going to go ahead and take the same ones you did, Kerri. I like where you're going with it because what comes to me is there's a freedom shift in your marriage. One has a frequency and one has non-conclusive. That stands out to me because that's where a lot of the frustration happens. It's one of those things when you have those good days and bad days, right? You have your good days when, okay, I see that you're working, you're moving. I know it's going to work. I got you. Everything is fine. Well, then all of a sudden, the person that has the frequency, meaning the twice a month, the biweekly, that have that frequency, they want to do something. They want to go buy something. Remember, I want you guys to be careful because remember that business owner can't move right now.
Mm-hmm.
You may cause evoke something, meaning inadequacy at that very moment because they can't move the same way that they used to. Mm-hmm. So there's a sensitivity that I feel like needs to come to the table in this moment. But typically, because you can't move the same way together like you used to, there's frustration at the table. It's okay, fine, I'll do it. I know mm-hmm. you need a way. I know. Understand those little moments right there actually defeats your statement of we're going to make it. Mm-hmm. Actually, you're sending signals to the person that I don't believe in you. So this is a very sensitive time because there's a huge gap there. That person is itching for that frequency and they don't have that freedom anymore. They have to think about things a little bit further. They can't just go on vacation anytime because that has to be planned out in a certain way. That vacation mm-hmm. can cost an email or a call and mess up their business. So this is a lot of the reason why business owners are working around the clock. It's not because mm-hmm. there is a bad time management that comes around, but at the same time, when you're trying to work yourself back into that freedom, working yourself back into the comfortability that you're looking for, so that way you can engage with the family, go on vacation, everything will still be fine. That is a lot of work to actually get to that place. Mm-hmm. And so it's one of the things I think we should all be aware of in this particular conversation. And with all this, Kerri, we talked about a lot about some of the details that happen in between. We're going to talk about some solutions because I know just knowing you, Kerri, you don't want people to feel like there's no solutions to this. And I want our viewers to know that there are solutions to this. So let's talk about some of the things and how the dynamics we can come up to help get this going. So before it gets out of hand, remember your vows. Richer or poorer is what is being pressed upon at this time. Do you want to take this one or you want me to take this one?
Well, while you were saying that other thing, I'm going to go back for just one little thing. Okay. Just to bring up about the relationships and things. As you were talking, it also makes me think about people I know. If the spouse is if the spouse is like off of work, like it's his weekend, and you still need to try to work, what they do is they don't understand that just because they're off, that you need to be off. And if your office is in the house and he's in there or she, whichever side, they seem to think that you should just be doing stuff with them. And I have heard about clients on this that I've spoken to. I've seen it, and it's just really weird for me to put together, okay, this person is really supportive of you. They believe in you. They see all this happening, but then when they're home, don't work. It's like it's on one side for the other, and then they complain if you're not doing business. Then they complain, but it's like because I wasn't working 2 days, that I should have. And it does. It takes the time as an entrepreneur. Sometimes you do have to work 24/7, certain times. And the other person, the spouse, just have to start realizing that and understanding it. And just like when the door says closed, don't bother me. But I've seen that happen. And and then they turn around and they're like, well, why didn't you get this done? I'll say, because you kept bothering me.
Yeah.
So that just made me think of what you were saying before, how that can cause distraction and cause all these other things too. So I just wanted to bring that up. And now, it kind of made me think this: how do you fix it?
Yeah,
It's
no,
at hand.
and let me chime in on that, because you're right. Because there's a perception there. There's a perception of freedom that you can just do whatever you want. As a matter of fact, when you're a business owner, your friends, they call you in the middle of the day because you think you can do whatever you want and get off whenever you want, and that's it. Remember, every hour you're not working is every hour you're not earning.
Mhm.
Even if you're working on developing something for tomorrow, you have to be, your business has to keep on flowing.
Mhm.
You have to be more prepared than you ever were prepared before. See, the thing about being W-2, this is no judgment. It's just the thing that you have to be prepared for is your task at work.
Mhm.
Is to, from 8 to 5, you have a task that you need to do all from that time period to get it done, and then that's what it looks like. Well, with that business owner, he's the IT, he or she's the IT. It's, you got to call your clients. You got to make sure you have a client flow. You have to have a pipeline. You have to have a certain organization, even if you're a solopreneur, to keep that flow going. It's one thing that if that business owner starts getting out of habit and wants to have a whole bunch of fun, you can do it. But when you get back home, when you get back 2 weeks later, you're like, I have no deals on the table. I have nothing going on. That's the consequence of business ownership.
Mhm.
So understand that, folks. And I mean, that is a huge point, is just because your husband or wife is seeming like they have time, don't start creating these tasks during the day for that person.
Mhm.
Make sure they're quick and easy, so that way you can get into that point. That person needs to get back on task, because it's easy for you to start to develop bad habits, and it's called freedom habits.
Mhm.
Meaning there's nothing that can tell me I don't need to get off work about 1 o'clock and be done for the day. And nobody's telling me no. I can do
Mhm.
it, but I'll pay the price tomorrow. So
Yeah.
just remember that about your business owner. They have a price to pay, and that freedom is changed. So before I get into this, actually, do you want to? I want to take this first topic, Kerri, and then you take another one. How's that sound?
Okay, go ahead.
All right. I'm over here itching. This is the good one. Remember your vows. Richer for poor is being pressed upon at this time. Richer for poor, sickness and health, till death do us part. There's a commitment there. There's a covenant. There's always like, there's that other one I'm missing for. I don't know, but let's just stick with this topic, right? So for richer for poor, at this moment in time, when you guys got together, the two of you got together, when you guys both had the same paycheck, meaning the same frequency, you were in your richer stage. Things were flowing. You knew what to do. You knew how to operate in that. You found a system. You found a flow. You found joy. You found happiness. Marriage was easy. You should have did a long time ago. When the rubber hits the road is when poorer hits. And people, one thing that I learned about people in a marriage is that they only want the half side that's actually good, which is the richer, the healthier, and the forever part, right? So they only want those parts. But when it comes down to the poorer part, when it comes down to the sicker part, when you have to dig in, and then now the covenant is actually being stretched. This is where people start to stumble. But the vows are there. This is a poorer moment for the person and for your family, just because there's a transition, not because I don't think their intentions are to make the household poor, but it's just a moment in which a transition and change needs to happen and needs to be developed. If you have not been a business owner before, if you've never seen it before, understand their work is going to be twice as hard to actually learn how to be what a business owner should be and who they need to be. They need to find out some things about themselves that they never found out. And so that is part of that time. And this is part of that poorer cycle that can bring that family back into richer. Remember, the two of you had a conversation at one point of, is this it? We can do better than this. We need more revenue. There's only a few ways to get it. And Kerri and I have been talking about this. And one of the ways I remember Kerri talking about this is you get more education, get a higher salary, or business and entrepreneurship. A couple ways to solve that and start to transition to your life. And also remember this when it comes to this moment here in richer and poorer. Just because you came in one way doesn't mean in the middle you haven't changed. You met at a particular time. You did not stay that person. Typically, hopefully, you didn't stay that person, because that's probably another irritation within the marriage, but that's not the point of this conversation. But if you're maturing the right way, you're finding out more about yourself, and you wanting to go see it. Again, we only have limited time on this earth. Mm-hmm. And there's specific things that you probably need to do. So this is the opportunity. So that's my thoughts. Did you have any thoughts you want to weigh in on that particular topic?
Pretty much everything you've been saying is what I think, but I just wanted to, add one thing on there is about when you are starting to change and you are starting to think about different things than what you want in your life, which some people I know are going through right now, about their next step in life of moving or doing something of that sort.
Right.
That's one thing when it comes to the other side. And I look at it richer or poor. Okay, that has to do with money, but also where you are in your life, if you're comfortable in your life, if you're happy where you are, if you're ready for a change, if you want to do something, then that's when the poor comes in, because you actually have to decide, okay, what's our next step? And it can be a little bit difficult or hard to decide that. And it could change totally your income and outflow of money. So it's things like that. Changes in life can be really, really good, but they can be scary. Yeah. And they can bring you back a little bit, but you're still changing. Your views on life are different. And most of the time, I would think they end up positive and happy, and you've made that good change, but you go back and start over again. And that's kind of when you're in the poor place, not counting the money, but on your decision making and your goals and your objectives and getting aligned with each other, all that kind of stuff. And so that is one thing that I look at it as you're starting over a lot, even if it's richer or poor. You're still starting and making decisions in your life as you go along.
That's right. That's huge. I like that. Here's another point, that your security is at risk, not your marriage. Yeah. It's important to distinguish the time frame that you're in, folks. Feelings have a way, and because we like to create more than what they is, what the situation really is, and not focus on it. And that's because feelings are what they are. Feelings turn into fear, mm-hmm. and they're unchecked. And the first thing that everybody goes to is security. Remember, your security doesn't necessarily mean that's the other person's security. Mm-hmm. That's the real true negotiation within marriage, is that, and your cycles and changes are not going to be all at the same time. Mm-hmm. It's part of the patience that actually is involved within making a marriage work, is that your change is now for that person. Yours may come later. So remember, the same love and the same respect that person's looking for. Remember, just because you haven't gone on your change doesn't mean you're not next. Mm-hmm. The same support, that's the same support that you're looking for from that person. So be careful on how you treat them, because again, you're going to go through a change. I guarantee you. I don't care. You can stay as stagnant as you want to, as long as you can, but it's not going to work, because you're inevitably you have to. Mm-hmm. And so remember the support that you're going to want. Did you want to weigh on there, or you want me to go to another point?
Well, too, on your security is at risk. The other thing is, if I'm looking at the risk and how you talked about kind of looking at the negative side. What I was just thinking, what came on my mind was your fear. The more fear you have, the more it attracts to things that can cause that fear, and it gets extended to the people that you're with. So like for spouse, if you start getting fear in yourself for being an entrepreneur, that's going to go off to that person too. So security is at risk because if you have that fear and everything continues to go bad because you have that, that's going to cause a huge conflict too, because you're the one that made the decision to want to do something else. But your fear and your negativeness can spread out to them too. You know, you have that happen with a lot of people. It brings that to you and makes you feel bad, but you have to remember that it also goes out to the other. So you have to be behind yourself.
Yes.
At least 90% of the time. There's always going to be some risk and fear. But the more that you are more afraid for yourself, the more it's going to affect everybody else either. So it goes both ways.
That's right. That's right. All right, I'm going to take one more point here. And so make darn sure your family's sacrifice is worth it.
Just looking at that.
Oh, this is a huge one, folks. Those who, when you're in change in general, and especially in this entrepreneur, you're asking a lot. Hold on, let me express that a little bit different. A lot from the other person to dig deep into a place they've never been to, in a place you've never been to. But you're asking that person to have faith in you, and you have never been there as well. So your reputation in the household starts to matter big time. Are you taking the family for a roller coaster and you can't seem to commit, you can't seem to finish, but all of a sudden you want to become a business owner? You're really taking a huge chance, folks. Remember, you're accountable to how you're showing up in this other person's life. It's not just your life and you just testing the waters because you have nothing to do. Mm-hmm. This is real life situation. We're not in a world today where you can just take huge risk and think you're just going to bounce back. If you're going to make this risk, do it well. Mm-hmm. With all you have. Get organized, get a schedule, show your seriousness so that person can, because that's where the faith is going to come in. They need to actually see you become and see your change in business ownership and how it's changing you in a positive direction. Make sure it's maturing you, because that's what a business owner should do. Mm-hmm. But make sure at the end of the day, maybe it's 2 years, 3 years, you look back and say, I'm glad you did that. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you did that, because my goodness, you have lives, you have kids. And as we talked about in the very beginning, your childhood belief system based on how you're showing up as a parent. And this can change your generational. That's about how deep your business owner is. It can change your generation on how they do. You came into the generation where you thought W-2 was the way to go. But because of your decision on entrepreneurship, your kids have now learned a new way of doing things. And that spins the generation for your family. So I feel like this is a major twist in your whole push and what you're promoting out there as far as what your family is capable of. Mm-hmm. Did you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, if it's a good point, because if it just goes back to the time that we talked before, if I grew up like I did, watching my parents had full-time jobs, do the 30 years, and they did the 30 years at the same place, and that has changed too. But it was like, you know, you just watch as you go. But it would have been so cool and so different. Not saying it was bad. I loved it. But it would be different totally if they would have been, at least one of them as an entrepreneur doing their own thing. And then I would have seen it both ways, and it would have changed my total view on my future. So what went through was nothing bad. In fact, it was amazing. But that would just show how I would feel different for the future. So when the change comes, like if I ever had kids, which I did not, they would see, you know, the difference that I had than what my parents had. And so
Yes.
it could help them maybe make more decisions too and see that there are possibilities out there. But a lot of the time, if the parents are just growing up with a regular job, the child is not seeing the opportunities. They're not around the kind of people that are doing those opportunities. So they just don't seem easy or even available.
That's right.
So yes, and it's just like the family, again, like we talked about earlier, the family really has to go to it. And if it can be proven that that husband or wife is right there doing everything they're saying they're doing, going by their schedule, getting all this done, and even though they aren't getting a lot of things done like travel and that kind of stuff, just imagine what it's going to be like 5 years from now. And I've seen that happen with people.
Mm-hmm.
They end up going on these better vacations, longer vacations, better places, and just the ability to feel much more comfortable taking that long time off to go be with your family and not have anything to do with work, no stress, whatever. So in the long run, you really have to, sacrifice all that stuff, but be prepared to put that hard work in there and make sure the family understands if you want this, which I can guarantee you, if you just follow this and, believe in me and believe in my process, then we'll get you there.
That's it.
So
Love it.
yeah, it's a big deal. It really is. If the other one just doesn't, and it sacrifices, if he doesn't do the job he's supposed to, and then he's got to go back to a regular job, what disappointment that's going to be to the family, right?
Yeah.
And the belief will be gone, the faith will be gone, and it would not be fun. It would not be fun. I'm getting like emotional right now after this whole conversation we've had.
Yeah.
This is like a point that's like, it's not good.
That's it. That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I love it. This is it.
Yeah.
With that, I'm going to bring us back home. Kerri, obviously we've tackled a huge emotional topic because I want everybody to understand, and those that are in it absolutely understand this conversation of it's not easy whatsoever. You're really taking on quite the journey, and I want to go ahead and give the floor to you and give us some final thoughts as to what you would have us do in this next step here.
All right. So a lot of the things that I just said can kind of move into this end, about just our goals and our objectives, our family getting together. But one of the biggest things to look at is really believe in yourself, believe in what you want to do in your life, believe the people you want to take care of. Now, there are always good things that come out of this. If you stay at a regular job, you may never hit those goals. You may not, but you could be frustrated on the way. But there are always good things to come out of that. Sit down with your family, like we've talked about. Just focus on what you want in life to be happy. You only live once. Wow. You only live once, and you have to do what you want to do to make it successful and happy. And that is getting along with your spouse, understanding each other, knowing your focus, where you want to go, and being there for your children, your grandchildren, or whatever kind of family you want to have, even if it's just your pets. That's me. But so those are just the kind of things that I want to look at, that I want to let people know is just how to focus yourself, your goals in your life, how you can work together, and just think of all the experiences that you can have if you decide to leave your job. So that's just my input. I think it's an awesome thing. And I think if people want to do it, they want to do it, but they have to look and be planned and be ready for pros and cons through the whole thing. And that's it.
And that's it. I want to make sure everybody understands something about Kerri. It's very important. And, when she gets emotional, and some of these shows are hitting her, it's not hitting me in a certain way, but let's just focus on Kerri for a minute. This is the type of emotion that you actually want to see, because you're seeing care. You're seeing vulnerability, folks. You're seeing that's the type of effort that she puts into her clients. And within your 18 years of experience and being a part of this, you've experienced it yourself personally. And also you've seen so many dynamics and so many changes along the way, just working with people and how money has affected them. So, for your boldness to bring up this, to want to talk about this is huge. And I feel like it goes a long way for those people that are watching. So I really appreciate you being open and vulnerable in every show that we've done thus far.
Yeah, thanks. I just got to remember to have more tissues next time.
That's right. Kleenex is the way to go.
Yeah.
But I know you have a busy day, Kerri, so I'm going to let you get on and do what you need to do. And again, thank you. And on behalf of those that are viewing and view later, thank you so much for being here and taking your time out of your schedule to talk about this. We'll see you next time.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, folks. When I think about this, program and think about what Kerri is talking about, I want everybody to really sit here and think about the impact of what we're talking about. Your marriage is huge. It's a covenant. It's something that needs to endure sometimes some challenges. And I understand life. You don't want we're not always trying to invite challenges into our life. Let's be really, really clear. We rather have a nice, clean, easy life and no challenges, but life is not guaranteed without challenges. And one of those challenges is change. When you make that change for the better. If your heart's in the right place on the betterment of your marriage and not on selfish ambition of, I just want to make more money, I want to change the dynamic of my of the family, that's what it's about. And that's the heart and soul of that business ownership as you're changing your course of the dynamics of your family. Remember, this is the future. Remember, there's a lot of change on hand. And that is what you're experiencing right now is change. And it's okay for change to take place for the better. As long as change for the better and changing for development, you're on the right journey. Stick together. This is where the glue, the cleaving comes into play. And that's why I want to make sure you're understanding for yourself and that reach out to folks like Kerri to help you manage your money during this time to make sure that you're having the conversation, because this is where maturity, where you didn't have to have the conversation before. This is probably the time to have the conversation now. Business owner, it's time for you to be vulnerable and tell them how your cycle is working. Take them along your journey. You didn't have to have a conversation when you're W-2'd. But guess what? Now you actually have to have a conversation because now you don't know when. But now you got to bring along the journey to reinsert trust. Don't just lean on everything's okay and that you say that you're all right. Make it all right for those folks. Help them out. Help them along the way. Do your part. And on the receiver end of that, be supportive, genuinely supportive. Think about the other person, where they are, time and space, and ensure that they can make it through. Okay? Because again, like Kerri alluded to, the plan is for 5-10 years from now for you, the two of you, to live and make different choices than you ever had a chance to make before. So again, I appreciate all y'all for being around, for enduring our topic. I know it was a long topic, but nonetheless, it's an important topic. But in the meantime, actually, Kerri and I, we have to get back to work. So we'll see you next time. Have a great day.